Well, it's set in stone, right? Joe Burrow is going to be the number one pick in the upcoming NFL draft, and he will be donning the Bengals stripes on draft night in Las Vegas. Well, you might want to hold that a little bit. Now, I have a whole theory about this, and I will get into it a little bit more in depth in the next minute, but more speculation is coming out as Joe Burrow danced around the subject when he was asked in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram before accepting the Davey O'Brien reward. And this is what he had to say about asking about being the number one pick with the Bengals. Look, this is a long process, right? They have their process and that they have to go through. And I am so blessed to be in the position I'm in. If they select me, they select me. I'm going to do everything in my power to be the best football player I can be. So when you read this, look, I get that he knows it's probably not set in stone, but if you really were all in on the Bengals, wouldn't you be selling that up, especially since you were Mr. Ohio for football and you have made it clear how much Ohio had an impact on your love of the game of football, and you grew up being a Bengals fan? I mean, that is well documented. So you would think someone that wants to be the number one pick to go to the Bengals be a little bit more optimistic. But I can guess why. And I have a theory about Joe Burrow, and if I was him, I would pull an Eli Manning and say I'm not going there. Now people are saying, wait a minute, I don't like that. I don't like it when quarterbacks refuse to go to teams, but we have two prime examples of what happens when a quarterback refuses to go to a bad organization. And look at who he's being advised by now. Who's his new quarterback coach? It's Jordan Palmer. He's the brother of Carson Palmer, who during the Super Bowl week basically said and came out and addressed the whole Bengals situation, saying, look, they don't care about winning. They care about the bottom line, is basically what I'm paraphrasing what he said. And you could tell by the moves they made, and Carson Palmer was one of those guys where you look at his talent. I mean, people, when I say Carson Palmer, like, oh yeah, he was okay, not that great of a quarterback. When he was with the Cardinals and healthy, he was one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And when he finished his career, he was top 12 in passing yards. Considering the places he played, Cincinnati, Oakland, and then Arizona. It all matters where you end up. It really does. It really impacts where you go as a quarterback to be successful. I mean, we are all raving about Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, right? But look at the situations they went to. They went to great situations. And the two best examples are John Elway and, of course, Eli Manning, who just retired. So the timing is pretty appropriate. Now, for Eli, you can make the case that, well, he just wanted to be in New York for the marketing, and that was a part of it. But really, Archie Manning saw in San Diego a team very similar to the team he was with in New Orleans, a team that didn't pay great players. They were very stingy. They didn't go out and get free agents. They weren't an organization that was all into winning, unlike the Giants. And to be fair, you look at the career arcs, Philip Rivers has had an incredible career. But do you really feel that they've put his best interests out there when he was the quarterback of the Chargers? I never felt they did. And you look at Eli Manning, he's won 2 Super Bowls. John Elway did not want to go to Baltimore. He did not want to go to the Colts, and he was killed for it, remember? What happened? They moved in the middle of the night less than a year later because of bad ownership. In today's NFL, you can't escape bad ownership. And people are saying, well, wait a minute, these guys can get to free agency. They'll be fine. They can't. Look at what happened to Kirk Cousins. They franchise tagged him forever. And did he make it to free agency? Sure, but it wasn't the same situation. And if a team really loves their quarterback, which I think Cincinnati will love Joe Burrow, they're not going to let him go. They're not going to let him go. That's just the way the business works. So if I'm Joe Burrow and I don't feel that this organization is going to put everything behind me, I wouldn't want to play there. Don't forget, he has leverage. Other teams are going to want him. And you could sell to the Bengals, well, you could get Tua. There's other options at quarterback. So even if the Bengals don't get him, there's a backup option. They could trade back, maybe get a couple extra picks and still get a quarterback. Now, for Burrow, he has the leverage because right now, even though Tua's gotten a clean bill of health, Burrow is the hot candidate right now. He won the national championship. He looked great in the national championship game. He's won the Heisman Trophy. I mean, he is the guy right now. I mean, he is. And for him, I agree with him. If he doesn't feel fully convinced, now, the thing is, he could change his mind. He could want to go to the Bengals, and he's just, playing it coy right now, doesn't want to put out too much information into the media, and I get that. But if you're him, you only have one shot in the NFL. And you need a good team around you. I mean, if you get put into a chaotic situation, it's a lot hard to overcome. Look at Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Their careers haven't gone off to as fast a start as a lot of people would have hoped, but look at the organizations they went to. Then look at Lamar Jackson. Look at Patrick Mahomes. Look at Deshaun Watson. They went to better organizations, and that have helped their career. Look, the Texans moved a lot of pieces to build the offensive line around Deshaun Watson because they knew they had to. Andy Reid in that organization has done a lot to get great, fast wide receivers that can separate in order to get Patrick Mahomes the best fit. And Lamar Jackson, I mean, they basically went to Navy to learn a triple option to help develop his offense. So I look at them and say, they're looking great, but they also went to a great organization. If he goes to the Bengals, I mean, the Bengals have been a joke. They have the smallest scouting department in the league. They have a stingy owner. It's not a good fit. And look at that division. I know Baker isn't the hot choice right now, but he's still a number one overall pick as a quarterback. You still have Lamar Jackson in that division. You probably have Big Ben for at least another year or two. I mean, you look at the Bengals right now, even though I love Burrow, I'd still say at best he's maybe the second best, third best quarterback in that division if Roethlisberger isn't healthy. But even then, I look at the rosters and you go, oh, Baltimore's got a great defense. Pittsburgh's got a great defense. Cleveland's got a lot of talent on defense. And you look at the Bengals, you're like, oh, that's not a good defense. And then they don't have a good offensive line. They're probably not going to keep A.J. Green. So for people that are saying, oh, Burrow shouldn't do this, I am fully behind him. If you think you only get one shot to make it in the NFL, and if you don't make it, you don't make it. And that's why if people are crushing him for being hesitant for saying, I'm not sure if I want to go to the Bengals. I mean, they've been a dumpster fire. And the last time they had the number one pick, they got a great talent in Carson Palmer, and look at how his career turned out. Do I want to be that next version of Carson Palmer where I almost have to threaten to retire in order to get out of this terrible organization? So for Joe Burrow and these young quarterbacks, if you have leverage, use it. Because we've seen it work in the past. For Elway and for Manning, they used that leverage. And in the short term, I know it wasn't popular with the fan bases. I know it wasn't popular nationally. I know the media killed them. But you know what happened? Both of those guys ended up winning 2 Super Bowls apiece. They ended up having great legacies. And they're both going to be Hall of Famers. Eli Manning's going to get into the Hall of Fame. So you can't tell me that hasn't worked because we've seen it work before. And if I'm Joe Burrow and I don't believe in the Bengals organization, if he believes that they can put the pieces around him, by all means. But if he, for a second, doubts that they can put a competitive team that will help him develop into an NFL quarterback, I have absolutely no problem with him going to the Bengals and saying, don't draft me because I am not coming to Cincinnati. Want more great NFL draft content? Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our latest draft coverage as we approach the 2020 draft coming up in Vegas. I'm promising you, you're not going to want to miss that. So what do you have to lose? Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss all the latest draft coverage here on Rich Sports Talk.